Greetings. This is Al Batinga with CCS Learning Academy. And what we're going to talk about today is leading hybrid teams. Now, much of America, much of the world is utilizing hybrid teams. And so we're going to talk about that for a few minutes, give you a 10,000-foot view of this class. And we want to invite you to our class on leading hybrid teams. So let's get started. So, my name is Al Batinga, and I partner with Deanna Mendeville. And what we do is we provide you interactive learning on any of the classes that we do, and we're doing it with CCS Learning Academy. So the title is Leading Hybrid Teams. So let's go through what this is. So the topics, what is a hybrid team? Like most of you know what a hybrid team is, you might have a team that is at home part of the time and then works out of the office another part of time. Or you could actually have one team working out of their homes, one team working out of the office, and or switching off as we go. So it gets complicated, right? If you think about that concept of maybe somebody working at the office Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday, Thursday, they're working out of their home office, and then maybe they flip the next week, right? They're Tuesday, Thursday at the home office, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it's an interesting time for all of us as we go through, hopefully, the tail end of COVID, but there's symbols and signals that say maybe not all the way out yet. So it's something that this topic is very relevant for. So what is a hybrid team? Let's talk about that in our workshop. And then why is leading a hybrid team important? So the concept right here is WIIFM. What's in it for me? That's the radio station that all of us as normal human beings want to know. What's the reason I'm in this workshop? What's the reason I'm in this meeting? What's then the reason I'm having this conversation, right? And so that's a normal adult question. And so we want to answer that. Why is leading a hybrid team important? Now, some of it is obvious, some of it is not so obvious. Come along and let's work through that in the workshop. What does leading a hybrid team solve, right? I mean, this is a fairly straightforward. It helps us produce, it helps us live out our vision, mission, values, our goals, our objectives, and allows us to do it in a very skilled way, as well as a very quantitative, qualitative, and efficient way, right? If you manage this properly, you, as the attendee to class, manage this properly, will do effective work as well as efficient work. So that's one of the reasons leading a hybrid team, those are some of the problems that leading a hybrid team solve. What traits do we need to lead a hybrid team? I'll give you one right out, and it's called patience. When you have part of the team at the office, part of the team at their home, and sometimes they're switching, we really need patience in everything that we do, right? As the leaders of this, we really do need patience, probably extraordinary patience as we adapt and adjust. And then what tools do we need to lead a hybrid team? I can tell you probably the biggest tool you have is a phenomenal meeting. Whether it's once a week, once every other week, once a month, once a day, once every other day. It's something that you and I can talk about in class to see what's most appropriate. Now, if it's a new team, you need to meet more. If it's a more mature team, you can have longer times in between. Now, if you have a big project, it's something that you need to consider and you need to tweak, right? And we cover that and work through that in class. Excuse me. What stops us from leading a hybrid team? What stops us from doing our best work in leading a hybrid team? One that pops out right off the top of my head, as well as yours, is confusion. Sometimes people are at the office, sometimes they're in between, sometimes they're working out of their homes. Do they have the necessary equipment, files, all of those things, right? Do they have access to the right information? There's a bunch of things that are inherent to leading a hybrid team, and it's something that we're going to talk about. What are best practices for leading a hybrid team? So I mentioned one already, right? One of the best practices for leading a hybrid team is to have a fantastic meeting. I'm talking about a meeting that people want to attend. I'm talking about a meeting that is so vibrant and so exciting that people look forward to it. It disseminates all kinds of information, right? We'll talk about that in our workshop. You and I may say most people hate meetings, right? And that, I would say that's true. But most people don't go to a great meeting. In so many ways, a meeting can be the highlight of your day. Think about that for a moment. Have you been to a meeting? I have, where the information was so phenomenal that I couldn't wait for the next one, where the way the meeting was structured was so interesting. And there were things that I didn't even expect. It kept me going. It kept me moving. It kept me thinking. And that's one of the best practices for leading a hybrid team, is to have a very sharp, informational, question answer type of meeting. Now, when you come to our workshop, here's what you're going to achieve. By the workshop's end, you will know and understand the fundamentals of leadership. Now, this is not a leadership class per se. In other words, there are other classes that we provide that talk about leadership. This is a class where most of you that attend class are already leaders, right? And so we'll go through some of the fundamentals of leadership, but we're not going to go through it from scratch. Understand hybrid teams. What are hybrid teams? What are their challenges? Why do they exist? What's the best format? What's the best way to structure a hybrid team? Let's talk about that in class, right? It's an important topic and something that I want you all to know. Understand the importance of leadership of hybrid teams. I think that hybrid teams are much tougher to manage than the normal team for obvious reasons, right? They could be in the field, they could be at their home, they could be in between. And then now you're juggling that with appointments, you're juggling that with doctor's appointments, with time off, with all kinds of things, because you don't have that visible connection with your team, right, on a regular basis for sure. And we also want to identify the traits and tools needed to lead a hybrid team. We talked about it earlier. One of the biggest tools is a fantastic, vibrant meeting, right? And we will talk about that inside of our course. So that's one of the tools. A trait I mentioned earlier is patience. And it's two things right there: a meeting, a vibrant meeting, and patience that will help you move forward. We want to understand what stops us from leading our teams, right? We're not talking necessarily about hybrid teams, but what stops a leader like me and you from leading our teams at the highest levels, right? Sometimes it's confusion, sometimes it's impatience, sometimes it's changing priorities, sometimes it's change of personnel, right? All of the above happens. And so we want to talk about that and discuss that and figure out how to prioritize, how to attack these kinds of problems and issues. And then we want to identify as well as understand best practices for leading a hybrid team. So with all of that, now this workshop can go from 3 hours, which is an overview. It's a quick overview of all the topics that we have, or it can go to a day or even 2 days, depending on how many people we're talking about, as well as how much practice, drill, rehearsal do you want? Obviously, the goal is to internalize. And internalize just means where you don't have to think about it. There, you are faced with a situation and you automatically move to it because you have practiced it enough, right? And so over a 2 day, if we go all the way to 2 days, we'll have ample time to practice different skills, different methodologies, different ways that we can accomplish our mission. So the workshop format, very interactive and relaxed, right? We take a break, we take it seriously, but not so seriously from an overall perspective. I know those are counterintuitive, but I think you know what we mean, right? We want to get the job done, but we want to do it in a light manner. And the reason for a light manner is people learn better when they're relaxed and they're in that environment that supports them. We're going to do several breakouts for smaller groups to work together. And what we try and do is switch them off. And what that means is you'll get an opportunity. Let's just use a big number of 12, right? And that's not necessarily a big number, but let's use a number of 12. we could do 3 groups of 4 or 4 groups of 3, depending on the topic. And what we like to do is we switch you off. So you have an opportunity to connect, to interact with someone else in the class that you may never have worked with before. Even if sometimes you're from the same company, you might not have worked with a person. So you get to feel and touch and work with people from another part of your organization, or maybe another organization, right? We have open communication, ask questions, challenge assumptions, challenge what I'm talking about. I want you to challenge me. I welcome all of that. Allow curiosity to flourish, right? It was Einstein who said, I'm no different than anybody else. I just have an intense curiosity. And so that curiosity will drive your learning. And it's something that's important, right? And so we'll have that in class. I want you to challenge it. It's okay to say to me, Al, can you do me a favor? Explain it in a different way. I don't think I understood it. Perfect. Al, I don't think that works. And let me tell you why. Let's have a dialogue. Let's have a discussion. And the class can chime in and help out and support. And then at the end of it all, either you'll say, well, Al, let me try what you're talking about. Or I'll say to you, you're right. In these specific circumstances, under your conditions, this won't work. I can clearly see it. So let's work on a solution that does work, and let's move that forward, right? We're going to take breaks every 60, 70 minutes. I know it gets tiring sitting in a chair, so we're going to at least take a few minutes to jump up and down or whatever we need to do. Obviously, if it's a long all-day or 2-day class, we're going to do lunches, right? We're going to do lunches midday. And then we want to have fun while we learn. Because the flip side of that is the more fun you have, the greater your learning opportunities are. So again, my name is Al Batinga and Deanna Mendeville. We work with you to ensure that the points that we were talking about for the last few minutes gets ingrained. And through practice, we want you to be second nature, right? And that's through practice, drill, rehearse. And so at the end of the day, we always end with, what's the plan for tomorrow? What's the plan to implement this, to internalize this at the degree where you own it? And now when you execute, you're killing it. Why? Because you understand it at the cognitive level, the thinking level. You've internalized it inside the physiology level, and now you can implement, execute, and externalize it, right? You can do whatever it takes to get the job done. So in our organizations, most of us, at least many of us, have hybrid teams. And what we want to do is lead them, manage them, coach them, mentor them at the highest levels so your organization can continue to flourish in this ever-changing environment. Have a great day. We look forward to seeing you in leading hybrid teams, as well as many of the other classes that we do. Thank you.